Hi and welcome back to the course. In this video, we're going to be creating the item list and also creating the items properly this time, using the data in the JSON payload. First of all, there's unfortunate chances that we may run into errors throughout the course, and there's nothing more infuriating than very terrible error messages that don't help you out. Fortunately, Flask has a way of showing good error messages, and the only thing we have to do is in app.run, before or after port, it doesn't matter, just type comma debug equals true. Now when you get an error message, when something really goes wrong in your application, now you'll get a nice HTML page that you can sort of visit and it will tell you what's wrong. Also, if you ask a question in the course Q&A, having that HTML page really helps me out when it comes to helping you debug and troubleshoot your problems. Okay, so the item list, that was a challenge for this video. I suggested that you try this on your own. Hopefully you have managed to do that, and it's really simple. Class item list is going to be our new resource, and it's going to have a get, because that's what we defined in the Postman collection. We didn't pass in any parameters in the Postman collection, so there's not going to be any parameters to the method. And all this is going to return is a list of items is items. Sorry, a dictionary of items is items. Items is a list which contains all our items. So that's really everything. Don't forget to add the resource. Item list. And make sure to give it the correct endpoint, which is going to be /items. That's it. So hopefully you managed to do that in the challenge. Now we're going to go into improving these two methods slightly. The first improvement that is going to happen in this video is going to be to actually create items properly. Now, the first thing we need is the JSON payload. We looked at this in the last section, how to get the JSON payload from a request. Hopefully you remember how to do that, and I would encourage you to try that on your own now and see how far you get. Hopefully you were able to do that. The first thing we have to do is to go up here and make sure to import request. That is going to be when somebody, such as Postman, makes a request to our API, that request is in this variable. So that request is going to have a JSON payload, a body attached to it. So we're going to say data equals request.getJSON. If the request does not attach a JSON payload, or the request does not have the proper content type header, this will give an error. So that's something to remember. And what I mean with that is if we go to Postman, notice how we have set the content type properly. If you do not do this, that line will give you an error. And similarly, if the body is not JSON, then that will also give you an error. For example, if you put some Python code in there. Don't know why you would do that, but nevertheless, and just so you know. In case you are not sure if your clients are going to give you JSON or not, you can prevent this from giving you an error. There are two things that you can pass this method that are really useful. The first one is force equals true. Force equals true means that you do not need the content type header. It will just look in the content and it will format it even if the content type header is not set to be application/JSON. This is nice, but it's also a bit dangerous because it means that without it, you look at the header and if it's not set correctly, you just do nothing. And with it, you don't look at the header. Therefore, you're always going to be doing the processing of the text even if it is incorrect. I tend to not use force equals true. The other one that is also quite handy sometimes is silent equals true. And what this does is it doesn't give an error, it just basically returns none. Okay, so this is another thing that you can do if you prefer. Now that we've got the data there, we can get the price. So I'm sure you know how to do that. Data is going to be a dictionary, and you know how to access data from a dictionary. So it should be fairly straightforward. Data price in square brackets and as a string that's going to access the price key of the data dictionary. Now, price is here one of the keys of this dictionary, and in this case is going to be equal to 12. Apologies, this is the return content. Here, price is a key here in the dictionary, and the content is going to be 15.99. So when we create a chair, it will have that price. Okay, so let's save that. Go back to the terminal, press Ctrl-C to quit, and restart the app. Notice how now we get slightly more information because we've enabled debug equals true. And then let's go over to Postman and create our chair. Notice how now the price is no longer 12, it is 15.99. And also notice how now we can go to our items endpoint and retrieve all of the items in our database. Do remember, every time you restart the app, this list gets cleared because it is an in-memory database. It only resides in memory, and when you stop the app, that memory gets cleared and you lose the data there. That's why normally these things are stored in a database which is more permanent. Okay, so that's really it for this video. In the next video, we're going to improve on the iteration here by using a filter function. We've looked at those in the Python refresher. Now may be a good time to look at the Lambda functions lecture in the Python refresher if you haven't done so before. Because in the next video, we're going to use a Lambda function. That's it for this video though. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the very next one.